Hello and welcome to another episode of The Place podcast. I'm your host, Dan Whelan. Today we will be talking about men's mental health in the construction industry. Earlier this year, the Chartered Institute of Building published the findings of a study it had carried out looking into this issue. It found that 60% of construction workers surveyed had experienced depression, and that more than a quarter had had suicidal thoughts over the last year. Overall, it found that construction workers are 3 times more likely to die by suicide compared to those working in other industries. Joining me today to talk about the issue are Sam Reeve, Senior Project Surveyor at BAM, and Tom Dickinson, Managing Director at OSI and founder of Tom's Talks. More about that a little later on. Sam, Tom, welcome to the podcast. So I think we should probably start off with some introduction. So I've done a very brief one there, but just tell us who you are and then we'll get into how you know each other and a bit more into the topic today. So Sam, we'll start with you.
So yeah, I'm Sam. I'm a Senior QS at BAM. So sort of everything commercial on every job I'm involved with, really. Done all sorts from healthcare, education, bit of commercial. So I came across Tom through a job I'm currently involved with, which is Ridgewood School in Doncaster. And obviously, Tom does what he does, providing loose furniture. So how did you actually get in touch with me in the first place? It was
a friend of mine, family friend.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah,
Karen.
Yeah. And then you just sort of got my email and it just came about that way.
Windled my way in.
Yeah.
You've got to, haven't you?
Yeah.
Obviously, I suppose you get a lot of emails off various companies, don't you? But I suppose they're a bit more personal. With Tom, it was more, I want to come in and meet you sort of thing, because that's one of the issues in our industry, isn't it? You just get email after email after email and you just delete them or ignore them, whereas Tom will I'll pass by, I'll come in, see you, tell you what we do, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it just sort of went from there, didn't it? And you ended up getting the job, and have you actually done it yet? I don't know.
Just doing it now. Yeah, just in the process of doing it.
And not too far from you, Doncaster, obviously, a Yorkshireman.
Yeah, so I'm Tom, Managing Director at OSI and also the founder of Tom's Talks, which is a motivational speaking business that I set up about 6 years ago. But OSI, we specialise in educational furniture, office furniture. My dad actually started the company in 1993, and I managed to get him to retire in 2021 finally. It's myself, my brother and my sister, we're running it together. So far so good.
Fantastic, a real family affair. And obviously, educational furniture, school project, match made in heaven. How did you get onto the topic of Tom's Talks then? Because obviously the day job is furniture,
yeah.
But you obviously do this thing that you've been doing for a long time now. How did that kind of come up in conversation?
So it was the Lacey Academy where Sam's girlfriend works. I was going in to do one of the talks that I deliver anyway, and then I'd met Rebecca. We'd gone to the boxing, hadn't we?
Yeah.
We had a good night there, and then I'd met Rebecca there, and obviously was explaining a little bit more about Tom's Talks, and then she sent me an email the day after saying, "Oh, we want you to come to the Lacey Academy," and I said, "Well, funnily enough, I'm coming next week." So I came in, I think it was about June, July time, and delivered it to the year 10s or 11s, I think. I can't remember. So obviously Rebecca was in the audience. She got to see the talk. Obviously fed it back to Sam. And I said to Sam as well, if there's anything that I can do to help within BAM or the school that we're currently doing the furniture installation, which is Ridgewood, let me know. Because, I'd be more than happy to offer some help there as well.
And how did you respond to that, Sam? That offer?
I've obviously put in touch with Claire, haven't I, who's our social sustainability, and I think there's more of a push from us definitely at the minute anyway in terms of doing this. I think there's a few sort of motivational speakers who we're trying to get to do this anyway, because that's what we're here to talk about. It is an issue in it, so it's definitely something we're trying to push as well. So just sort of
came together, didn't it?
Yeah, just came together. It just sort of worked.
We're similar age as well, I'm 29. What are you,
27?
27. So I think we just found that we had a lot in common. And just sort of went from there.
Yeah.
And how do you feel knowing that there's multiple motivational speakers that Sam is...
Oh, there's none quite like me, so I'm not too worried.
No, absolutely. Well, you may as well tell us then about Tom's Talks, because that's a very important thing. You've been doing it for 6 years. I didn't realise you've been doing it for so long. So tell us about where that started and what it entails.
Yeah, so it's quite sad, really. The motivation behind Tom's talks was I lost my brother to suicide in 2015. He had his own issues, but he'd been struggling with an addiction to ketamine 4 years prior to when he passed. One evening, we'd had a massive argument about his addiction, and sadly I found him 15 minutes later, and he took his own life. That, as you can probably imagine, had a profound impact on my mental health and my well-being. But the mistake I made was I chose to not deal with it, chose to not grieve. And I looked at my mum, and it always makes me feel emotional when I think about my mum in that situation. You know, she was heartbroken, devastated, as you can imagine. And I sort of said to myself, well, it doesn't really matter what I've been through, it doesn't really matter what I've seen. I chose to forget about it, and I wanted to make myself as busy as I could. And ultimately, I thought by being the man and being the man of their family, I could be there to support my mum, especially, and get her through it. But neglecting my own well-being and my own grief. And then 2 years later, it came back and sort of hit me like a ton of bricks, to a point where then I was in a really dark place, and I was suicidal at one point. Luckily, though, I'd managed to pull myself out of it. And then that's when I started working on myself, on my mental health, on my mindset, and trying to be the best version of myself. And then it was 2015 when my brother passed, 2017 when I was in a dark place myself, 2018 I was speaking to a school in Sheffield. So at this point I was in sales working for my dad. I was speaking to a school in Sheffield, discussing the furniture requirement for the sixth form area. It was a lovely lady called Bex, who was the head of sixth form. She was choosing the furniture. And this was around June, July time, before the summer holidays. And we ended up getting on really well. And I'd explained what had happened to my brother. And I said, I want to do something to give back and to try and raise awareness where I can. The summer holidays went by, we delivered the furniture, and she gave me a call in September and said, thanks for the furniture, it's great. We've had the worst 6 weeks ever. 2 of our kids have took their own life over the 6-week holidays. I think now more than ever, if you're up for it, we want you to come in and speak to the kids about your experiences. Tell them what you've been through, but also tell them how you got over it. What did you do to get over that point in your life? So I said, absolutely. I didn't hesitate at all. So we sat down over a period of maybe 2 or 3 months, and we put together what was the very initial Tom's Talks that we have now. And yeah, January 2019, stood up in front of the sixth form students to King Edward's in Sheffield, absolutely shitting myself. And yeah, delivered it for the first time. And I put it on my Instagram, just saying I'm quite proud of myself today. And the last slide that I have, it says, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I say, if I'd have not done everything I said I did in the talk, I wouldn't be here now. If you ever feel like giving up, don't, because I promise you that life is always worth living. And if you ever feel like you don't have a reason to stick around, I can guarantee from the bottom of my heart that your friends and family will give you $1 million. And I put that on my Instagram, and then
it's blown up since then.
Yeah, I went from that.
It must have been an absolutely incredible feeling in January 2019 when you stood up for the first time, having been through what you've just described with your brother and then yourself being in a dark place as well. How did that feel, apart from very nerve-wracking?
There is honestly no better feeling for me, especially the first time. But every time I say the words that I've just said at the end, and you can hear a pin drop, it's unmatched. There's no better feeling for me. I think just like it's sometimes like therapy in itself for me, but ultimately the motivation was, if I can help avoid another family and prevent them having to go through what we went through, then that was the motivation behind it.
And your words obviously have a big impact on the people that you're speaking to. Is it easy or difficult to ensure that every time you're giving that talk, because you do a lot of them, that the words still have impact for you? Do you still feel the impact of the words when you say them, or have you kind of become a bit numb to them now? I guess that's important.
Yeah, I said this the other day. I said, if it ever gets to a point where I don't feel myself welling up inside and getting emotional, it's probably the time to stop. I was actually in London on Saturday just gone. I was at a festival called the Go Mental Festival, and there was myself and many other experts in their field, and it's coming up 10 years on the 26th of this month, and I started crying on stage towards the end, and I said, I've not got that emotional, and I thought to myself, well, it's been 10 years and there's some really cool things happening in our family at the minute. So just sort of, it got me. But I guess, like, for me, I'm never going to hold that back, because the more vulnerable I can be, then the more, hopefully, it encourages other people to be the same.
Yeah, so that's a good example, especially to young men. You know, that this is an issue, isn't it? We know it's an issue. We hear about it all the time. Young men not speaking about the way that they feel, and, you know, seeing that as, you know, doing that would be a weakness, which clearly it's not, as you've demonstrated. Sam, in construction, and in my intro, I mentioned a few stats there from a recent study. It's a big issue, even bigger than sort of society at large. What's your experience of that been in terms of the time that you've spent in that industry?
So, luckily enough, never had, touch wood anyway, my own personal experience, but it's massive, yeah. And we've talked about this before, haven't we? I think it's a culture issue. And because there's this, I don't know, it's like you can't speak up, and it's, well, if I want to speak out of turn, it's probably the older generation that maybe push that. It's more of like a macho, or you're seen as weak, aren't you, if you do speak up. But I think particularly on site, I think is more of I think within BAM and maybe within management and in the offices, there's definitely more of a push, and there's more of that, I don't know, modern view on it, if you like, and speak up. But on site, there is a very, I don't know, it's an outdated view, in my opinion. And it's, yeah, a lot of people, whether they get the mick taken out of them, I don't know, but it's a massive issue, yeah. It is changing. It's getting more positive, definitely.
I was going to ask.
Especially with the stuff Tom's doing. And on Ridgewood, we've sort of made some steps towards it. Like, we started doing a 5K run on a Wednesday, so we'd literally encourage everyone. And I think we got about 30, 40 people at one point, and just
I love that.
a lot of lads off site, and we'd all just go for a run at lunch. And it's just positive, wasn't it? It's just a positive thing, really. Yeah.
No, absolutely. So it sounds like we're going in the right direction. You know, those statistics at the beginning, they're quite harrowing, aren't they? But it sounds like, you know, certainly companies like yours are taking steps to address the issue. Tom, when you go in to speak at schools or businesses, like how do you change what you're saying depending on the audience? Do you change, or is it the same? So if there's younger people in the room, for example, or if it's a group of older construction workers, would you moderate what you say?
I would definitely say there is some accommodation depending on the audience, but if, in all honesty, what I talk about, it relates to somebody every single time. I would say that it doesn't change too much. You might be surprised to know that I've actually done this from year 3, year 4, year 5,
wow,
and 6.
Really?
Yeah. And at those age groups, I had to change it slightly. I didn't talk about in which way my brother decided to take his own life, and I don't elaborate on the substance abuse. But funnily enough, like, the principles still apply. You know, I talk a lot about social media, the amount that people spend on their phones, and, you know, the effect that's having on their mental health. And it's starting as young as, you know, 7, 8, 9 years old. And it goes all the way through until you're an adult. You know, the amount of time that people spend on the phone, and
it's only going to become a bigger issue though as well, isn't it?
Yeah, not knowing the effects that it's having, it's crazy. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't say that it changes too much, but there is instances where I will accommodate it. Like, you know, if I was to do it on a building site with the labourers and the electricians and the plumbers and stuff like that, I would probably elaborate a little bit more on the men's mental health side of things rather than the social media side of things. If I was doing it in a hair and beauty environment in a college where it was mainly girls, then I'd probably elaborate a little bit more on the comparison side of things on the social media and the uses on there. But in general, mate, it doesn't change too much, because I found that I have put things in there that does accommodate to every gender, age, and everything like that. Yeah,
I mean, the mobile phone thing and social media thing, as the father to a young daughter, too young for a phone by about 18 years, it terrifies me, to be honest. It's something that, you know, it's coming down the track and we're all going to have to deal with it at some point. You mentioned before, Sam, about that sort of the older generation and that attitude of, you know, not speaking up and just sort of hiding your feelings or swallowing your feelings. Do you think then that as that generation retires and it's a younger generation coming through, that this problem will continue to get better, bearing in mind what we've just said about the impact of, you know, social media and that sort of thing?
That's a good question, actually, because I suppose there's different pressing issues, isn't there? I think it definitely will. I think in terms of that, because there is younger people with different attitudes coming through. It's bound to change, isn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose the issue in construction at the minute is the macho environment and the lack of wanting to speak up. Whereas I suppose it might be a different issue in years to come.
Yeah. And we talk a lot in my job about, you know, the skills crisis, you know, the atmosphere or in construction with regards to what we're talking about. Mental health is quite challenging, or certainly perceived that way from the outside. It's a hard job. I don't think there's any getting away from that. And we're struggling to attract people. It's not only hard for the people in it, but we're struggling to attract people to work in it. So do you think that maybe a more progressive approach to the way we deal with people's mental health could maybe get around that and maybe make it a more welcoming environment for people to work?
Definitely, yeah. I think people just see, particularly maybe in schools, they just see construction as someone who's going to be walking around in mud all day and you're going to be, like you say, having to put a real shift in manually, when it's not, because I suppose I don't do that. I've never grafted a day in my life on site, but I don't know, it's that pushing schools to maybe show what other careers are in construction as well. It is not just, don't get me wrong, obviously you're never going to get away from a ground worker being a ground worker, right? That is what it is, but yeah, I think there is a lot of work to be done.
What was the path for you, Sam, for getting into the role that you're in now? Was that something when you left school, did you sort of have an idea that that's what you wanted to do and you then progressed?
Yeah, so it was sort of just in sixth form as my A-levels, when you're just researching what jobs to do and things like that. And I was adamant I didn't want to go to uni full time, so mainly because of the debt. And obviously it's just pushed on you by sixth form at the time. And I was always interested in business, always interested in construction. So it was just, when I researched it was just the sort of job that aligned the two. And then applied for loads of jobs. Found got back to me, went to an assessment day, got a job, and then been there ever since.
When did you join BAM then?
So I was just over 8 years ago now. So I've been
flying.
8 years, yeah. Yeah, done my degree through BAM and everything, the whole higher apprenticeship, and been great. Can't fault it, really, yeah.
I think there should be more emphasis on that process, because there is, not to digress too much, but I went to uni for 3 months, spent all my money and then quit. But
what did you go to study, just out of interest?
So I did sports business.
Right.
So I'd always worked part-time for my dad, even from being as young as 13. And I always looked up to my dad. So I always had an interest in business and I love sports. And I just thought, I'd put the two together. Yeah. I thought that'd be sound, but I was very wrong. But there is a lot of emphasis on university.
Yeah.
And it's seen as a thing that you should still do, but there is so many opportunities out there to get into a good career, or, you know, do something within business that doesn't necessarily need you to go to university. So what Sam's done, it should be, I don't know if it is, I'm not involved in the day-to-day education, but there should be a lot more awareness around that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and actually at the Labour Party conference in September, Keir Starmer announced that he was dropping the target for 50% of young adults to go to university and replacing it with I think a 66% requirement to go to university or have a gold standard apprenticeship, so a degree level apprenticeship, I guess, which is, I think, in terms of what you talk about, a positive step forward.
Yeah, definitely, I would agree.
Yeah. I think schools are definitely getting better at it. From obviously speaking to Rebecca, like a lot of the stuff, they are pushing it, I think, more in apprenticeships and that sort of thing. But I think one of the things is a lot of people don't know you can earn good money in construction on site. Like if you get an apprenticeship as, I don't know, plasterer as an example, you can earn good money pretty quickly after that, which is often a lot better money than you're going to earn by going to uni and getting a degree. Obviously not always, but sometimes is the case, isn't it? And I don't necessarily think that's push as well.
I want to ask you about another thing that you do, Tom, because you've got Tom's Talks, which we've spoken about, but you also do a podcast.
Yes.
And this sort of, from the bits that I've listened to, it feeds into what you said before about working on yourself and wanting to be sort of the best version of yourself. And I listened to one recently with, I think, a psychologist or a life coach or something like that. And that seems to be the kind of like the sorts of people that you'll speak to on there. So just tell me a little bit about that process you've gone through from when you mentioned in 2017 being in a dark place to where you are now. I mean, you're wearing a fantastic suit. You look fantastic. So you've worked on yourself mentally as well. Tell me a bit about that.
So I got to a point where I was looking online at different ways that we could improve our mindset and improve the way that we would feel. And I really dove deep into the self-development side of things and just started reading books on self-development. And then I follow a neuroscientist on YouTube and social media. And just things like how you can increase your dopamine in a way that's not going to be a detriment to your mental health. So I like looking at, and people laugh at me when I say this, but like ice baths and cold showers and stuff like that.
They're all the rage, aren't they, at the moment, ice baths?
They are, but sometimes it's seen a little bit extreme, but for me, the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, I just have a cold shower straight away. And it's not because I'm trying to prove anything to anyone else, but it's just that bit of dopamine that you get in the morning. And again, like I think with construction and just men in general, I think the reason why there is such an epidemic in mental health is because life, believe it or not, has got so much easier with technology, social media. Like everything is instant gratification, instant validation. Nothing requires hard work. You swipe your finger, you get pretty much anything delivered to your door within 24 hours. So that dopamine that you get from doing things that require hard work is diminishing day by day. So especially men, we don't have that feeling of doing things that require hard work. And for me, that's why I say in my talks, in my workshops, on the podcast, if you do the hard things, then your life will become easier. If you always choose to do the easy things, then your life will become hard. So that journey of going from 2017 to now, like, I'll always choose to do the hard thing, whether it's getting up at 6 and going to the gym or doing a cold shower or having difficult conversations. You know, if you do that, then, and I think if that's the promotion that I'm trying to give to people of my age, of any age, you know, if you choose to do the hard thing and you are able to delay gratification, then these mental health issues that people are having will become less and less. And I think going back to construction and just lads in general of our age, and I've been there, that's probably one of the reasons why I was struggling so much. Going out every weekend, getting absolutely off it, on a massive high on Saturday, Sunday, and then on a massive low for the weekend, repeating that same cycle every week. Combine that with not doing the hard things, always choosing to do these things, not going to the gym, not eating well, not looking after your physical health, not looking after your mental health, and then combine that with going on social media and then comparing yourself to everyone's a multi-millionaire by the time they're 25 in Dubai driving Lamborghinis. And no wonder men especially are feeling so shit.
But I suppose combining that with construction as well, it's working away is a big thing. Construction, isn't it? So you've got lads who'll work away, they'll go away on a Sunday and they'll work, I don't know, 7 till 6, and then they'll be knackered because they've just grafted all day. And then, like I say, they'll just go out, get pissed up for 4 nights out of the 5, and then you're just compounding that, aren't you? And then you're doing it on a weekend again, and like it's just rinse and repeat. Oh, that is an issue.
I think if social media is to be believed, you know, thinking about my sort of algorithm, that there's a lot more people doing the things that you're describing. You know, the ice baths, the eating healthy, cutting out the alcohol. That's something we hear quite a lot. Actually, is young people aren't as interested in drinking anymore. So again, maybe these issues will iron themselves out. But what I'm interested in is how you get from, you know, someone who may be, you know, in a really dark place, suicidal potentially, to where you are doing all those good things that you know are good for your mental health and good for your physical health, because it's not that, is it? It's not overnight. How do you, and what would your advice be to someone looking to just make that just first step into being more positive?
I think the first mistake that people make is that they look at where they want to be, see how far away it is, or potentially how far away it is, and feel really overwhelmed. Like if you're depressed and you're suicidal, the thought of feeling normal again feels so far away and so unrealistic and so overwhelming. You just think, well, I'll just not even bother. I'll just stay where I am. And the advice that I always give to people is that try not focus too far ahead in the future. I always say, I've literally had a conversation with a friend today who's been struggling. I said, just focus on today. Just focus on the here and now. Like literally what is in your control this very second that will have a positive impact on you, your mental health, and the people around you. And do that. Once you've done that, then focus on the next thing, And then by doing that, by putting one step in front of the other, 1 foot forward, just focusing on the controllables, like control the controllables. By that time you get to the end of the day, you look back and you think, You know, I made healthy choices with my food. I went to the gym. I limited the amount of time I spent on my phone. You know, I stopped smoking. You know, all those positive things. You've done it because you just put one foot in front of the other, and you kept doing that and not focusing so far ahead in the future. So it becomes a lot more realistic and achievable. And then before you know it, you get to the end of the day, then you get to the end of the week, and a month's gone by, and you've smashed it, and you think, you know, well, I can do it. You know, I kept those promises that I made to myself. It builds confidence, and then it's a snowball effect. And it was the exact same thing for me. Another thing as well is in the morning, like the biggest mistake, and I speak so much about this in schools, the biggest mistake that you can make in the morning is going straight on your phone, or going straight on social media more specifically. Mm-hmm. Because by doing that, you're setting the worst intention for the day possible. You're getting straight sucked into that negative spiral of, you know, the algorithm and the comparison and everything like that. Or checking your emails. You'll probably know this, like checking your emails first thing in the morning. You've got a snotty email from a customer, or something's gone wrong. And instantly you're in a negative frame of mind. And I always say, like, for me, again, just from my experience, what's helped me is avoiding my phone. More often than not, I'll leave it on charge downstairs, and then I'll have a cold shower. It doesn't need to be a cold shower. That's just what works for me. Mm-hmm. You know, it's going downstairs, rehydrating straight away, getting outside, getting some fresh air, going to the gym. Just set the intention. Have that first hour of the day just for you. No outside noise, no distractions. And then when you get to the beginning part of your day, you relax. There's no anxiety. You're calm. You're ready to go. The dopamine's there. All these positive thoughts and feelings. And then whatever you are faced with that day, you can attack it head on because you give yourself the best possible opportunity to start the day, because you give that first hour to yourself.
But there will be some people watching this and listening to this who will say, well, that's all well and good, but, you know, I'm super busy. I've got 3 kids. I don't have time to do that in the morning. So does the same thing work? Because I appreciate the point about starting your day off on the right foot. Yeah. Does the same thing work if you put that hour somewhere else in the day, you know, just because that first hour when you wake up is chaos? I
can agree with that, yeah. And I don't have kids yet, so I can't comment. I know that my sister and my brother, they've got kids, and I know how hard it is for them.
Are they taking cold showers?
They tell me every day how hard it is. And they say, I can't wait for you to have kids. But even my sister, she's got Theo that's probably 18 months and Hallie that's 3. I love her to bits, but Hallie she's a handful. But even she does the same things that I'm saying. You know, she'll avoid a phone. Right. She'll go for a run if she can. And again, like, we've got to be realistic. Every day is not going to be the same. Some days you might have to get up. But for me, you always have a choice, no matter what. No matter what goes on in your life, you are in control of the choices that you make. So if you've got parents, and it's probably easier said than done, me saying it without kids, and I get that, and people are probably going to laugh, but, you know, you can still avoid your phone for the first half an hour of the day. If your kids are crying, your kids are da-da-da-da, you can still avoid your phone. Mm-hmm. You can still choose to have a healthy meal for breakfast. Like Greek yogurt, blueberries and raspberries with a bit of honey on. It takes 2 minutes and it's healthy. You know,
sounds good.
Nobody can tell me that they can't do that. Like, no matter what your situation is, if you've got kids or not. Yeah. So it's about, again, what can you do that's in your control, and how can you respond to the things out of your control rather than reacting. Has
any of what Tom does in terms of, you know, the healthy eating, the cold showers, you know, that sort of stuff, has that rubbed off on you? Has your...
I've always been interested. I wouldn't say I'm as like into it as I feel all the time. I'm interested in it. Yeah, it is definitely. I obviously you go through phases. I'll go through a few months where I'm really strict with stuff or whatever, and you're really into it, and then you sort of phase out of it, don't you? Which is, I suppose that's an issue as well, because it's you ebb and flow of it, don't you? Yeah. Some people, I can imagine, as that is with depression, they fall back into the slump and back in and out, don't they? Mm-hmm. That's how it is. But no, definitely interesting. And I think, like you said earlier, with younger people not drinking as well, that is it's a thing now. And younger people are definitely more interested in that sort of thing as well. Like, and I know we're sitting here flagging social media off as well, but it has got its good sides, hasn't it, for certain good influencers who are pushing positive things as well. Yeah. So I suppose it's about minimising who you're following as well, isn't it? It's not just following random people, like say in Dubai, who are just leasing a car or whatever. It's not true or anything like that. It's following good positive people.
Just before we draw to a close, I want to get an idea of, because OSI is going to be at Education Estates next week. At time of recording, That is 14th, 15th October. So you're going to be there. So anyone who does want to chat to Tom about Tom's Talks, or indeed furniture, that you'll be there. But how does, you mentioned you run the business with your siblings. How does your sort of attitude towards being the best version of yourself translate into what OSI does and what OSI offers clients like Sam?
So I think it definitely runs deep in the culture. And just a really quick example, like all the staff now, they all go for a walk on the lunch. Just something that we had a discussion about, how can we become healthier? How can you perform better? And now they'll go for a walk on the lunch every day. It's like a 15-minute walk around the estate. So even that, I post on social media the things that I'm doing, not in a way of like, oh, look at me, look what I'm doing, but it's like leading. Not like, oh, look at all this crazy stuff I'm doing. It's just leading. It's just subtle little hints. Because more often than not, very rarely I'm in a bad mood. Like, I'll come into work buzzing, like positive, good energy, good vibes, and it then seeps through the culture of the company. So then people like Sam, when they're dealing with Toby, our office manager, again, that's been with the company 25 years, like, you get the best versions of them, so therefore you get the best service, you get the best everything. And again, the culture, it's people come and work at OSI and they don't tend to leave. So Toby's our office manager, 25 years, Brent, credit control, 25 years, Zach, 10 years, warehouse manager, Jody, 20 years, Stephen, 20 years. And it's because of the culture that we have. We look after each other. We are a family business, and that runs deep into every single segment of the company. And I think that is why we get a lot of repeat business. One, because, you've got peace of mind that you're dealing with people that know what they're doing, and that energy is there at the forefront of the customer experience. And two, you're dealing with people that look after each other, and that family side of things as well.
Sam, does that chime with you in terms of your experience?
No, it's absolute bullshit.
Your experience with Sam, with Tom, but also looking, you're constantly awarding work to your supply chain. How important are the things that Tom has just described when you're picking a business to work with?
I mentioned it at the start, didn't I? It was more the personal side of it. It's you just get bombarded with email, and it's only got worse since COVID. That has, definitely. It's
no one picking up the phone.
Yeah, exactly that. You just email after email after email, and it's like, it's so, it just lacks personal. You want to put a face to a name, don't you, ultimately? And that's what Tom did, really. I think I did get a few emails which I probably ignored.
But not this guy again.
And then, he just popped by, sort of thing, and we had to sit down, and then, ended up turning the inquiry, and then you, won it, didn't you? So, that's the biggest thing in construction, I think, personal. Yeah. It's like, people don't go to businesses, they go to individuals, ultimately. Yeah,
absolutely.
But even working for someone like Bama, however many £1 billion or whatever, massive, and thousands of people, clients still go to individuals.
Yeah, it's about relationships.
We'll work with some of the same subcontractors for decades throughout BAM because they've generated them relationships with individuals. And
it's super important. Just to wrap up then, Tom, what next for Tom's Talks? Are you going to take this global? What's the plan?
So I actually, I got my first flight November last year, which was really cool. It's still within the UK. I flew to Jersey and spoke at the hospital in Jersey, which was really cool. But just keep doing what I'm doing, mate. I'm fortunate that the social channels are really growing at the minute. I've had a lot of traction recently, which has been great. I think I looked on TikTok actually at the analytics. In the last 60 days, I've had 11 million views.
Wow.
So that's really cool. And it just seems to be going and going and going. So, just posting regular content, just giving out value, just all the time, value, never asking for anything. Just see where the socials go, and then just see what opportunities arise from that. And just keep going into schools, which is the main sort of setting that I'll be in doing the talks. And just see what happens, mate. The podcast is going well. I'm nearly up to 52 episodes, which will be a year, which is cool.
Big achievement.
I think it's just a case of just keep doing what I'm doing, mate. Yeah. Just consistency. I think that's what people lack.
Well, gents, thank you so much. Really enjoyed that chat, and good luck with everything, and especially the school project. Hope that goes off without a hitch. You don't want any nasty.
We're not right, mate.
Far away, yeah.
I'll take that.
To learn more about OSI, visit osiofficefurniture.com, or better yet, come and see the team at Education Estates, taking place in Manchester on the 14th and 15th of October. Thank you very much to Tom and Sam for joining me today, and thank you all very much for watching. I hope you can join us again for another episode of the Place Podcast.